I welcome all the students in the third week of course, uh, that is in the second semester, Research Methodology 20 MBA 23. And during third week, we'll be starting with module 2, okay, where we will be discussing about how exactly this research design plays the vital role. And here in third week, we'll be able to complete the 50% of the module 2. So starting with like in module 2, we'll be discussing about business research design, explore in the terms of exploratory, descriptive, and the casual research. And then followed by in exploratory research, we will be trying to understand meaning, suitability, collection, and hypothesis formulation part. In the descriptive research, under, we'll be understanding the meaning, types of descriptive research, and data collection methods. And in casual research, will be understanding their meaning, various types of experimental designs, types of errors affecting research design. Okay, so when we will talk about the business research design, so basically it is a kind of framework, it is a kind of blueprint for conducting any kind of marketing research project. Okay, so here what happens that everything what you are going to do it in the research need to be dealt in the detail. Okay, for getting the for obtaining the information in the proper structure format. Okay, and that will help you out to resolve the marketing research problems. And a good research design, I can say, when everything is clearly defined, just like a roadmap, at that point of time we can say that it is clearly defined, and it is a clearly structured, right? What exactly the way you need to follow to complete your research. Okay, so quite obviously a research design lays the foundation for conducting the project, and a good research design will always ensure that the marketing research project is conducted effectively and efficiently. Okay, so that is the beauty of the business research design which we have. And here when you will talk about the business research design, so there are certain components which you need to understand. Like one is what kind of, you need to define the information which you are looking for, and you need to design the exploratory, descriptive, or casual phases of the researchers, right? Like whichever the model you are using, either it is exploratory or descriptive or casual, you need to define there. And then you need to specify the measurement and scaling procedures, means whether you are using the dichotomous kind of questions, whether you are using the open-ended, closed-ended questions, or whether you are using the Likert scale or Thurston scale technique. Okay, then you need to construct and pre-test the questions. Okay, you need to construct and pre-test the questionnaires, and here you need to follow the appropriate form for the purpose of data collection. And you need to even specify the sampling process and sampling size. You need to specify the sampling process and sampling size. Okay, you need to even develop a plan of data analysis. You need to develop a plan of data analysis. Okay, with the help of that you will be able to assess whether you are in the right direction or not. Along with that, your whole marketing research design can be classified under two categories. One, we say it is a marketing exploratory research design, and another one we say it is a conclusive research design. This conclusive research design, again, it will get divided into two parameters. One is descriptive research, another one is casual research. And this descriptive research, again, it will be divided into two categories: cross-sectional design and longitudinal design. Okay, so let us go one by one. So in the comparison of business research design, when we will be talking about, here we will be able to understand what kind of scenarios you should have, so that what kind of research will be applicable. Okay, so let us discuss all these exploratory, descriptive, and casual research among the different parameters. Like objective wise, in exploratory, it is discovering new ideas and insight, coming with some kind of new concepts or any kind of innovative ideas. In case of descriptive, it is only describing the market or characteristics of the kind of functions. Okay, then followed by casual. So here you will be determining the cause and effect kind of relationship. You will be able to determine the cause and effect kind of relationship. You will be able to, if you will see in the terms of characteristics, so exploratory is flexible in nature and it is highly versatile. Okay, often they will be front end of total research design. Generally, it will be always changed. Okay, And descriptive research, when you will talk about it, is marked by the prior formulation of a specific hypothesis. So here they will always formulate the hypothesis, and as per that, they will try to conduct the research. But in case of casual, it is always goes with manipulation of one or the more independent variables and control of the other meditating variables. Okay, other way we call it as moderating the variables also. So here, they generally what happens that in this casual process, they will try to control the assumptions. They will try to control the variables on certain assumptions. Okay. In case of descriptive, it is very systematic and very structured format. But in case of exploratory, it is very flexible because it is follows with the open-ended kind of questions. Okay. And again, following with the kind of methods when we will talk about. So in case of exploratory, we generally use the non-probability sampling. We generally use the non-probability sampling technique, and it is not pre-planned analysis technique. It is not pre-planned analysis technique. Okay. Whereas in this method, we generally go for the expert survey or secondary data, or even the kind of case studies or qualitative research. Okay, so that is the part of the methods which we have to follow under the exploratory. In descriptive, we need to understand the probability sampling design will be used. So here it is more systematic in nature, and here the data what you are going to collect it will be through the panels, it will be through the surveys, and it is purely based on the secondary data. It is purely based on the secondary data. Okay. Next is casual research. So quite obviously, it is well-defined sampling plan will be there, and data will be collected through the different experiments and under the control conditions. So here, most of the things the researcher will try to control with the help of moderate variables. Okay. Next, we have exploratory research. So in this exploratory research, as we have discussed, it will always speak in the terms of vague problems. It will always speak in the terms of vague problems. Okay, so here it will go this vague problem. You need to break it in the different small parts. So once you will break it in the small parts, it will become easy for you to evaluate the things. It will become easy for you to evaluate the things. Okay, so here after what will happen that you will be going to evaluate, you are going to resolve the problem once the whole problem is divided under the different parts. Okay, so here exploratory research, when you will be talking about, it is more flexible and highly versatile. It is highly versatile, and the data collection structured forms which will be used for exploratory will not be structured at all. It is an unstructured format which researcher will use for the purpose of conducting the exploratory research. And experimentation is not a requirement. Experimentation is not a requirement here in the case of exploratory research, because here the people will be, okay, because here the people will be able to experiment. See, experiment, when you will talk about it always starts with the concept of something like very systematic nature. But here in this case, it is not going to be structured at all. It is not going to be systematic at all. Okay. And the cost which is going to incur in this exploratory research will be very, very low. Will be very, very low. And this type of research will always allow for the wide exploration of the views, for the wide exploration of the views. Okay, and this research, it is an interactive in nature, and it is also open-ended kind of questions where you can run your analysis here. Okay, so the purpose why people will go for the exploratory research, because when they want to formulate a problem or define a problem more precisely, that point of time it is always good to go for the exploratory research, and they have to identify the alternative courses of action. They have to identify the alternative courses of action. They need to develop the hypothesis. They need to develop the hypothesis, and They need to isolate key variables and relationships in further examinations. And even if suppose somebody wants to gain insights for developing an approach to the problem, can be done only with the help of exploratory research. And it also establishes priorities for further research. It also establishes priorities for further research. And this is appropriate to any kind of problem about which very little is known. Okay, so this research is the foundation for further study. This research is the foundation for any further study. Okay, so when you will talk about exploratory research method that can be done with the help of literature search, okay, where you are going to refer the literatures, and based on that you are going to develop your new hypothesis. You are going to develop a new hypothesis. Then followed by you for this literature search, you can refer the refereed journals, you can refer the trade journals, you can refer the professional journals, or even you can get any kind of market research finding based publications. Okay, and even the statistical publications will help you out to conduct such kind of exploratory research. So let us take, if suppose the company wants to identify why there is a sales down, why there is a declining in the sales. So quite obviously, quickly you can get the published data and you start looking for why the industry is finding issues. Many times it happens, if industry is not performing well, even the companies which comes under that industry will not be able to perform well. So that is the reason you have to formulate the hypothesis. So here hypothesis can be in the different format, like whether company's market share has declined. So because of the industry is also normal, industry is normal. Second is industry is declining, henceforth company's market share is also declining. Another one is industry share is going up, but the company share is declining. So with the help of these three different type of scenarios, you will be able to analyze the data and you will be able to check whether which hypothesis accepts or gets rejected in the market by considering the different variables, over here. Okay, next you have that is expert surveys. You have something that is called as expert surveys. So when you will talk about expert surveys, it is something like desirable to talk to persons who are well informed in the area being investigated. So if you are starting with any topic, you will always know that who are the right customers there, right? Who are the right expert people there. So with the help of them, you can try to investigate your issues there. Okay, and these people will be the company executives, or sometime they may have worked in the organization, they may have got retirement. You can always consult such kind of people. And but a good thing, but one thing is here in expert surveys, we don't have any structured questionnaire at all. We don't have any structured questionnaire at all. Okay, and this approach will be adopted as an experience survey, which is a highly unstructured process or in the nature. So that respondent can give divergent views. Okay, so one person can give the different views which may not match with the other expert member. So that is their own, based upon their experience, they are going to give you the views. And totally finally left to you, which one you feel is more suitable for your organization, you will be able to do it. Next, we have something like focus group. So this is also another widely technique which is used for exploratory research, especially in the focus group model. In focus group, what happens that a smaller number of individuals will be brought together to the study, and they will be requested to discuss about the topic of interest which the organization is looking for. In that process, they will be having one person as a moderator also from the organization side. Okay, they will be having a moderation also as a company side individual, and uh, they will be able to see, they will be able to have the interaction there, and they will be able to check whether what type of discussions output is coming there. And quite obviously in one sitting it is very difficult to get the any kind of output, but here you will have minimum 8 to 12 people who are going to discuss the particular topic. Okay, and here when we will be talking about, so quite obviously you need to have at least 5 to 6 meetings together, so that then only you will be able to find out the output in the seventh or eighth meeting. The starting people will have some kind of conflicts, but removing all these conflicts, how they can come to the common issues that need to be discussed over during the focus group. Then we have secondary data analysis. That is also one of the best sources through which you will be able to collect this secondary data for the exploratory research. So this secondary data, you can refer to the literature or any kind of published or unpublished data which is available for the studies purpose, and which is made by the individuals for their own purposes. So the researcher may review the literatures for the purpose of framing a hypothesis, but this will be only tentative hypothesis. Okay, and based upon the hypothesis published, based upon the previous research work, the researcher can just they can formulate the hypothesis. And the sources of data, whatever you are taking it, you need to mention it in the bibliographies which is available on the topic, or journals, or which, if you use the magazines, newspaper, reports, books, special catalogs, or special guides online on the internet or digital libraries, e-database which is maintaining by the many of the organizations. Okay, guides, then directories, indexes, then statistical data, census data, and government publications. Okay, so all these things you can take it from the you can show it under the secondary data part, which will be a part of your so-called which will be a part of your so-called, I can say, under the under your so-called like exploratory research. Okay, and next technique we have, that is case study analysis also. So analyzing a selected case sometimes gives an insight into the problem which is being researched, and case histories of companies which have undergone a similar situation may be available, and this case are well suited to carry out the exploratory research. For example, you can take the example of Mumbai Dabbawala's case, right? So there are many things are there. If you will give this case to the HR people, they will say that, okay, this is related to this something like good teamwork. If you will give it to the marketing, they will say good supply chain. If you will talk about the finance, they will say that it is a good financial transparency kind of system they are following it. So what I mean to say here is that, like when you will talk about the any case, any problem which can be resolved with the different models, with the live cases, such kind of things we have to explore with the exploratory research only. So this is the case which we will be discussing during the week 3 about the 4 P's. If suppose any new company they want to join, they want to start the degree of, they want to start the operations in the Indian market, whereas the company belongs to the Japan. Okay, then we have qualitative and the quantitative research. So qualitative research, we all know that it is for the variables which can be only qualified, okay, which is only the qualitative in nature. So quite obviously it is unstructured kind of research, and that is the reason we are going to use the explorative research. And because again, this exploratory research, we will be going for the small sample. We will not be going to take the larger sample at all. Based upon the small sample, based upon their understanding the problems, we are going to make the generalized statements. Okay, and sometimes so-called hypothesis may not be there in the case of qualitative or in the case of exploratory research. But in the case of quantitative research, it is not the case. We are going to use the statistical analysis, and with the help of that, we will be able to accept or reject the null hypothesis. So this is the differentiation of the qualitative research with the analytical quantitative research. If you talk about qualitative, so their main objective is to gain the qualitative understanding of the underlying reasons and motivations, whereas in quantitative, it is only the quantifying the data and generalizing the results from the sample to the population of interest. So that is speaks well, because that goes with the some kind of analysis there. And next we have that is sample also. So in qualitative research, we'll be using the smaller number of non-representative cases, that is sample size. But in case of quantitative, we'll be using the large number of representative cases. In case of data collection, quite obviously in the case of qualitative, it is unstructured. In the case of quantitative, it is structured in nature. Then we have data analysis. So quite obviously in qualitative, we are not going to use the any kind of statistical analysis. Whereas in case of quantitative, we have to use the statistical test. Okay. Outcome, quite obviously in case of qualitative, it should be an develop. You need to develop an initial understanding. Whereas in case of quantitative, you will be recommending a final course of action. Okay. So qualitative research, there are different types of methods which a type of test can be done. Like we have depth interview, we have Delphi technique, focus group, projective technique. And this projective technique again can be divided under the three, like word association test, completion technique, and thematic appreciation test. We call it as TAT also. And along with that, we have even this expressive technique. Okay. So when you will talk about depth interview, it is unstructured and it is direct in nature, and it is a kind of personal interview in which a single respondent will be probed by a highly skilled interviewer and to cover all the underlying motivations, beliefs, attitudes, and feelings of the particular topic. So here what will happen that here the role of the interviewer will be checked, and they need to ask many questions in that particular domain so that they will be able to understand what exactly the scenario, what exactly the issues are existing there. Okay, so here the interview may be conducted in a casual and informal manner. It is not at all a structured format, whereas the flow of conversation determine what kind of questions they are going to ask after some period of time. So that order is nothing predetermined as such. It will always go based upon the answer which will be the interviewer will be giving over here. Okay, so that is the model here. Then followed by we have a Delphi technique. So in Delphi technique, what happens that is a kind of process where the group of experts will be meeting together, and they will be trying to reach to the consensus on the particular content. Okay, let us take, if suppose we are calling the experts to understand what is the sales forecast we can do. At that point of time, Delphi approach will be the right, because each and every individual will make their own judgments, and finally they will be reaching to the concise to the one option. Okay, so that will be possible only with the help of your when you have the great expert members in your team and they are going to discuss about it. So quite obviously to complete this process, it is not possible to complete in one day. It will take at least 5 to 6 rounds of interaction among the group members. Next, we have that is projective technique. Here we have to discuss about the different types of tests which can be done in the unstructured, and there is no any kind of direct form of questioning it. Okay, so here we have a WAT, that is the word association test. So this test basically consists of presenting a series of stimulus words to the respondent, who is asked to answer quickly with the first word that comes to his mind. Okay, so the respondent generally, while answering quickly, he gives the word that he or she associates most closely with the stimulus word, right? Like if you will ask what type of detergent comes to your mind first. When I mention washing of an expensive cloth, so some people, in some people mindset may come surf, someone may say Tide, someone may say Ariel. So that is what how the test will be conducted here. Second one we have, that is we call as completion techniques. We call it as completion techniques. Okay. So in this completion techniques, it is something like sentence completion technique. It is something like sentence completion technique. So here the respondents have to finish a set of incomplete sentences, and they need to provide a basis for developing advertising appeal for a brand of cooking oil. Okay, let us take, you can present like this. People use cooking oil, so they have to write which one it is. Okay, cookies costliest cooking oil, most of the new cooking oil. So the people have to just fill the sentence. They have to complete the sentence over here, and then again you can have the story completion kind of things also here, like where the situation is described to a respondent, and they will be asked to complete the story based on their opinions and the attitude part. Next, we have a thematic appreciation test also. So generally it is used to measure the attitude and the perception of the individual. And some picture cards will be shown to the respondent. And the respondent is required to tell the story by looking at the picture. When the subject starts telling the story, the researcher notices that the respondent's expression, pauses, and emotions to draw the inference. Okay, so that is how the model goes. So here you will be judging the respondent based upon the emotions he or she gives uh, after viewing the pictures in the cards. Okay. Next is the expressive technique we have. In this expressive technique, quite obviously, either it can be presented either in the verbal or visual situation where the feelings and attitudes of the other people to the particular situation. So here, let us take these techniques. Generally, what will happen? It is a kind of role play which will be given between the respondent and the researcher. Okay, so that they will understand how exactly the respondent behaves when such kind of scenario happens. Okay. Next, we have hypothesis formulation here. So, as far as we have discussed before, also that hypothesis it is a unproven statement, or basically it is a proposition about a factor or phenomenon that is of interest to the researcher. Okay, basically in this hypothesis, researchers will always try to find out is there any relationship exists between the variables or not. Okay, so that theoretical perspective they will be trying to bring the analytical model there. And then we have this is the how we have to frame the hypothesis. So first you have to define the market research problem, and you have to start collecting the lot of objective then theoretical framework about the model, and that will lead to the research questions, and research questions will lead towards the hypothesis. Research questions will lead towards the hypothesis. Okay, so that is how the analytical model can be created. And at exploratory research stage, quite obviously here you are going to discuss develop the hypothesis. So in exploratory, developing the hypothesis is quite difficult because here it is open-ended kind of questions. It is scenario based. For that, hypothesis cannot be created. As there is in some of the cases, you will find there is no any previous data also is available. Okay, so sometime information in case if it is available, and if it is possible to formulate a hypothesis, you will be trying to formulate a tentative hypothesis there. You will be trying to formulate the tentative hypothesis there. And this kind of data is available, and it may be possible to provide all the answers to the problems. It may be possible to provide all the answers to the problem. So this is how you can design, and this is how you can frame the hypothesis under these scenarios. Next, we have that is descriptive research. So when you talk about the descriptive research, it deals with the like understanding the some set of variables among the people in detail. Okay, like your so-called if you want to understand the market, if you want to understand the customers or organizations, at that point of time you can go with the descriptive research. Okay, so major reasons why we have to look for the conducting research is to find out the characteristics of the relevant group. We means among the consumers, among the sales people, among the organizations or market areas, whether is there any kind of relationship exists between these different organizations or between these different variables. Okay, and quite obviously you have to be very specific. Predictions need to be done in the descriptive research, and this descriptive research is always it will comes in the clear statement of the problem, and they will be very specific with reference to the hypothesis part, and even the detailed information will be provided here. Okay, so there are different types of descriptive studies which we are going to study also, like we have cross-sectional, we have longitudinal. So cross-sectional, as we have already we can say that it is only for a given sample of population. Okay, only once you will be giving them, you will be selecting the sample. Okay, whereas in longitudinal, again and again repeatedly you will be doing the similar kind of research on the different people. Okay, then you have methods of data collection. So here in methods of data collection, we have got survey method, observation method. Then we have survey method and observation method. So survey methods always goes with the structured questionnaires. Observation methods goes with the recording of where observation means you need to observe the variables. Here variables can be people, it can be object, it can be events also. Okay, so with the help of that, you need to collect the data over there. So this is the bibliography which I have been used for the week 3 content which I have prepared. And this I will just conclude my session, and we will have detailed discussion during the we will have detailed discussions during the third week of this course. Okay, so have a nice time to all and take care. Have a good day.